And now, authors, writers, books, and beyond. This program also streams live on the web at tspntv.com and can be watched on demand at tspntv.com or TSPN TV's YouTube channel. And now, authors, writers, books, and beyond.
Hi, welcome to another episode of Authors, Writers, Books, and Beyond. I'm your host, Kathy Boyd-Fuller. I am thrilled to have you join us today. Today, I have something special for you. We have a very special conference up here once a year, every May, the beginning of May. And Antoinette May Herndon is a founder of that conference. And she has asked me to invite Kevin Arnold, who also, you were there from the beginning.
Yep.
And Genevieve Beltran, also is a past conferencee and current one this year.
Yeah.
So you're going to get all different viewpoints, and I am a conference attendant, and this will be my second year teaching. So you're going to get a little bit of this and that from us, a little different than the other shows, so I'm kind of excited for you. We're going to start with Antoinette, and you want to introduce yourself and just give them a little history about the conference to start off.
Well, I'm Antoinette May, and I moved up here from the Bay Area in 2002 and fell in love with the area and thought, what a wonderful place to really write. And though I had written a number of nonfiction books, and one of them got really lucky and was on the New York Times bestseller list for 46 weeks, it was nonfiction. And my background was journalism, but my longing was to write fiction. And I thought, this is the place. And I ultimately wrote Pilot's Wife, and I sold it, but I was so thrilled, and I thought, okay, I didn't come out of an MFA program, or I just was me. I didn't know anybody.
And that's a good thing.
Yeah, and if I could do it, anybody could. And so I really wanted to start a conference so people could come together and network and encourage each other and go from there. And that was the beginning of Gold Rush Writers, and I think that was in 2006, and we've been going ever since.
Wow, wonderful conference, too.
We try to make it bigger and better every year.
Yeah, I think I like the way you change it up. You haven't kept it the same.
No, not at all. And this year is the biggest. We have 22 workshops for people to choose. So at every given time, they've got 4 choices and lots going on.
Yeah. Kevin, I'm going to go to you next before we go to first break, and tell a little about yourself, too, to the viewers, and then how you got started with the conference.
Well, Tony and I have been in a writing group now for 12, 13 years.
Oh,
And so we talked about this and helped get it started. I've loved what I've learned up in the foothills here. It's been a wonderful part of my life. I was lucky enough to get published a poem in Manzanita, so I'm not completely new to the area here, and I'm very appreciative for that. I am an unusual blend of being both a poet and a novelist, and therefore it's kind of an unusual thing that I bring, but I try and actually bring them together. And the poem that was published in here in Manzanita is probably going to give me the title of my novel as it's gone through many iterations, but I think it might be the thing that gives me the title to my novel. And so I've taught pretty much every year at
Oh, you have? Okay.
Yeah.
I know I've taken classes from you.
I appreciate
Oh,
it.
yes, Kevin's the core group.
Okay, and yeah.
And you would maybe read us a little something later or not?
Yeah, I'd love to. I'd love
Okay.
to read that poem.
Oh,
Oh,
great.
that'd be wonderful.
And Miss Genevieve.
Hello.
Hello. You want to tell the viewers a little about yourself and how you found the conference?
I found the conference because I went to a conference in New York City where I met Lucy Sana, who's very involved with the conference.
Yes.
And even though Lucy lives in Palo Alto, when she found out that I live in Stockton, she said, oh, you should come to the conference, the Gold Rush Conference in McComely Hill. So I did and loved it, and I come every year. This will be my 4th year.
Your 4th year.
Yeah,
So I'm just a year or so ahead of you.
yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's funny I had to go to New York to hear about
I know. I was going to say you have a long range, Antoinette.
Yeah, we really do. We really have people from all over the country that come, truly.
How far? Do you know?
Yeah, this year, hopefully there'll be many more in the next month or so, but we have somebody coming from New Jersey, and someone coming from Salt Lake City, and someone coming from Santa Fe. So it is
All
known
over.
out of the immediate
Area.
area.
And you call this a boutique conference. I've heard you refer to it that way before because
Yes.
you limit.
Yeah, yeah, it is a boutique conference. The fact that it's in McCallamy Hill, a tiny little town, it can only accommodate so many people. Also, I feel as though it's a TLC conference where everybody gets special attention, and if it grew, we have a faculty of 20. And if it grew beyond 50 registrants, they wouldn't get that TLC. And
Which we like.
yeah,
Oh, we love
this is
that.
the special thing that we have.
But you do still have some openings for
Yes,
people to
we
still
do.
apply.
Yes.
Which we'll get into that after break. I would like you to share a little bit, if you don't mind, Genevieve, about some of the books that you brought that
Okay.
you've purchased at the conference.
Yes. This is the French version of Antoinette's book because I was hoping she'd talk about how many languages this book has been published in.
How many?
18.
18. So I brought the French
Including
version.
English.
Yes. And I have friends who love her book in both English, and I have friends who read in Spanish. And so I'm always trying to get my books back because I love Antoinette's books. One year, Kara Black was a speaker.
Yes,
So I have her book. 1 year we had Michael David, as if it's my personal copy.
Yeah. Well, it is.
It is.
Michael David Lucas, The Oracle of Istanbul.
Yeah.
It was good. I enjoyed him.
I
Yeah.
did too.
Local UOP professor and wonderful writer Amy Smith,
Oh,
All Roads
yes.
to Austin. And I think she's been on the show before,
She's
hasn't
been on
she?
She
twice.
has.
Yes.
And, yeah, she's great.
We had The Lost Saints of Tennessee, because Amy Franklin Willis was a speaker as well.
Yeah.
The Runes of Iona by Robert Balmana was a book. A lot of writers there, they're not necessarily giving talks, but they share their books for the book sales, which is great. And I was apologizing to Kevin before the show started because I have his poetry books and I couldn't find them when I was rushing off today, but this is my favorite of his books. And I brought one of your books.
Oh, thank you.
Oh,
Yes.
yes.
And the writers are really welcoming, and I also teach first grade, and I've had 3 people from the conference who are published writers, including you, come and speak at my school to help children become better writers.
That was a great.
Yeah, so it's very much a TLC because they're so connected to people that they want to go beyond just a conference to help people.
Who else has gone to your classroom?
Lucy Sana came to see junior high, and Michael David Lucas came to speak to our junior high kids, and he also did a parent-family writing night for us.
Isn't that
Yeah,
wonderful?
free of charge. He just wants to help kids be writers. So,
See,
yeah.
none of that would have happened if you hadn't started the
No.
conference.
No, it's wonderful for networking. It's really about writers helping writers and helping people to become writers that are already, but they just need that extra push to get it out there and sell it.
You want to share about your book, the Sacred Well?
oh, that's another one.
One of my books was The Sacred Well, and it's a novel about that takes place during the Mexican Revolution, and it's kind of a love letter to Mexico for me personally, because I was a travel writer until I got married and settled down in McCallamy Hill, and I specialized in Mexico. So I think it's a fascinating country with a very bloody but exciting history, and it was very interesting to write that book and research it. I am a historical writer. I don't know if I'll ever write a contemporary novel.
I love that. I got to review that locally for the local paper.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
Scott
love
Thomas
that.
Anderson asked me, and I thought, and I kept loaning it out, and then you had a book signing, so they finally went to buy it. You guys can buy this too. It's a wonderful story. I love the parallel lives, the
Yeah.
parallel story there.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to go back to Kevin. We're going to have to go on break in a couple of minutes, but we have a little bit more time in the first session. How long do you need to read the poem?
It would be very short. I have a fairly short poem if
Okay.
people would be interested.
Let's go ahead.
It's a poem that was published in Manzanita, and it's actually in this book too, I believe. But it's now probably going to give the title to my novel as well. It's called Jasper Ridge Ranch, and it's pretty short. Diana is teaching me about horses, how you hang their halters next to the stalls in case of fire. And English saddles, almost bareback, are more than just frou-frou. They're the only way a horse can jump. She says, rhythmically, moving up and down on a horse is like making love to a woman. Perhaps, I think, a woman you're not in love with, but I am not yet a horseman.
Oh,
So I'm thinking about calling my novel Not Yet a Horseman.
not yet a horseman. I like that.
Oh,
That's
titles
interesting.
are so hard.
Someone should teach a class on that alone. It's hard. And then you have to submit with more than one, and they may not even pick it.
Yeah, they might not pick that at all.
We probably are spending 15-20% of our time now in our writing group just on titles.
Titles.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that is a beautiful poem. Thank you for sharing. And I like the title. That's catchy.
Not yet a horse.
Creates a little intrigue. So we are going to come back in a little bit. Please come for our second part. We'd be happy to have you.
You're watching your local television network, TSPN.
Hi, welcome back. We're going to talk a little bit more about the conference. I would like to share the book I bought in 2012 at the conference, and this is The Romanoff Stone by Robert Yeager. And this is a book I had the pleasure during some of our workshops, monthly workshops, to critique. So I was thrilled when it came out, and I prefer hardbound, so I was right there on the spot when he first put him out. This is another good one. I don't think there's anything we've brought that you wouldn't enjoy reading. So this is a conference that offers a wonderful bookstore, which for other authors and writers, that's one of my passions, is to look at and read other people's books. So it's not, a lot of conferences are now going to online bookstores, and Antoinette does not do that, and I am most grateful to you for that. Because I like that interpersonal communication between who's buying the book.
Yeah, I think so. So they have an opportunity to meet the writer. And it isn't limited to writers who are presenting workshops. Any writer who has a book, who attends, has every opportunity to have their book for sale and with the others, and to chat and sign.
And she
do
even
that.
takes children's, because
Oh, yeah.
my novels aren't published yet. So keep that in mind, too. And I think you have, there was another children's writer last year, wasn't there?
Yeah, we have. Yeah, but you are our children's writer now.
I think we'll soon have more.
Yeah, and young adult, yeah.
Yes, and YA. And now I'm going to ask Antoinette and Kevin to share about the conference itself and the workshops, and Kevin's going to be moderating a panel on critique groups. So this would be interesting for you to get a little insight before the conference, Antoinette.
Well, the conference itself came out of experience in being involved in a critique group, and I think it's an invaluable thing for writers. And I think it's also important to align yourself with people who are coming from somewhat the same place that you are. They can be a little farther along or a little not so far along as you, but you blend together and no one is dominating, and we're all helping each other. It's all about writers helping writers. And anyone can form a critique group, and they certainly can get help from us based on our experiences that is free and available.
And do you want to mention who your speakers are?
Oh, yeah. Well, this year is our biggest year as far as what we're offering. We have 22 workshops, so there are four going on all the time. I think the problem for people attending will be which one they want to choose. They're just all so good. We cover everything. We've got it all, really. We've got historical novels, finding your voice for people who are just getting started and not quite sure. They've got a memoir that they maybe want to write. In fact, I talked to a woman yesterday who called me about the conference, and she said, I don't know if I should be writing a memoir or if I should make it into a novel. Well, this is the place for her to come and decide. Then we have a workshop on plot, which certainly, whether it's memoir or fiction, you have to have a plot. And when you write your book, you ultimately have to get it sold. And Lucy Sana, who has been part of our group from the very, very beginning, has just sold her first novel to HarperCollins, which is a big deal. And she got a very good advance. And she's going to be sharing her strategies for finding an agent. I think that's very important for everybody. Kathy is going to be talking about both young adult and little kid, which
Illustrated storybooks.
They're called storybooks.
Illustrated storybooks.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people want to do that, and it brings in a collaboration between possibly writer and artist. It's a wonderful thing. We're going to be talking. We've got nonfiction covered. We've got memoir covered. Really dynamite people, and all of them are published writers. You can say that they made it, although I think all of us four writers would say the clouds never really part. We're always there's never really an end. You're always working on the next thing and finding the next agent and all of that. But it's nice to have people that will help you and share their experiences and network, and that's what we're all about.
And this is a more personal conference than the big hundreds
very
and hundreds.
personal conference.
And Kevin, you want to share about, you have 2 workshops and a panel?
Yes, this year I have 2 workshops and a panel, but before I get to that, I would like to just thank Tony for getting this all started. This has been something that's going on almost 10 years now, and it's really been wonderful. It's been wonderful for the community. It's been wonderful for all of us. It grew out of our writing group, and so I'll talk about that writing group thing first.
Okay.
I'm going to have a main session on Sunday, which will be for everyone, and it's going to be on writing groups, and we're going to have the 4 members of our writing group up, and we're going to discuss the ins and the outs. If I had one tip, I'd say just make sure that the people that you select for your writing group are actually writing now. If they're writing now and they're trying to do what you're trying to do, it just levels the playing field so beautifully. If you have somebody who wrote something 20 years ago and isn't writing now, I wouldn't have them in. But I would say go for people who are writing now and are interested and are putting their stuff up next to yours, and you're going to get a good person. The 2 workshops I'm teaching, the first one is the one that Tony talked about, finding your voice. And that's so useful for people who aren't sure whether they're really a journalist or a poet or a novelist, or they want to write memoirs. And we go over each of those, and then we have them read a little piece of their own writing, and then we talk about it. And that's been a very popular. In fact, it's filling up pretty quickly, that one.
I think I've taken something like that from you where I had to send in.
Yes, you had to send that in, right?
It's really, really important. I had a phone call today from a woman that said, well, I don't know whether this should be a memoir or whether I should make it into a novel. Well, she should definitely take Kevin's workshop. That will give her some definition, some possibilities, some
Yeah.
informed possibilities of which way to go.
So even first-timers would be really beneficial for them to take their
Oh,
class.
absolutely.
And although I've heard people with 5 novels out say, I'm just trying to find my voice.
Wow.
Yeah, but the other second workshop that I'm teaching with Kathy Isaac Luke, and she and I both have won prizes for our short stories, and it's short stories. So it's gonna be a fairly standard short story workshop. We're gonna go over as much as we can of a number of people's short stories and talk about where their genre is now and how their work fits in.
And she's another poet too, like you.
She's also a poet.
Yeah.
You know.
Wonderful. That sounds like another great workshop.
Yeah,
What would
it
you,
does.
what are you interested in this year, do you think?
I think I want to take the historical fiction classes this year, since I'm working on something with a historical bent. So.
Yeah.
And we all have, just so you know, out there in TV land, we all have a current work, right? I know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And Genevieve and I are sunnies. With Antoinette, we do a workshop once a month with her.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so we critique each other's workshop.
Oh.
And that's a help too.
Oh, it's a
Oh,
huge
it's so helpful. I mean, I think workshops are everything.
I couldn't agree more because you know what? When we're in there alone with our computer, used to be the typewriter, it is a very isolated, I've said it before, it's an isolated profession. I think you need to critique groups and the workshops just to get you out and hear other voices, not just the ones in your head.
Yeah, and get feedback for what you've written. I mean, you ultimately have to make your own choices, but just to have someone say, "Oh, you're saying that same word again and again," or "I got confused," or the worst is I got bored. Well, I mean, don't you want to know it from somebody
Yes,
before you
before
send
you
it
send
on.
it out to an agent? Come on.
I
This
have
is what
those.
it's for.
I don't know if you guys do, but I call them echo words. That if I don't catch them, the first, and I do give my critique group sometimes. I didn't before, but because I'm on my third novel now, I give them first draft this time. It's very humbling. It's not like giving something you've rewritten, half a dozen to a dozen times. It's and I would not give it to anyone outside of that center core. Some critique groups don't allow first drafts. Do you guys allow
Oh,
that?
that's ridiculous.
Oh yeah, we
Well,
sometimes we actually prefer first drafts
yeah.
because
you know
we
how to
want
mold
the
it.
new work coming, but a lot of it is
Rewriting.
rewriting.
Yeah, it ultimately is rewriting.
And so when you moderate that panel, is there a Q&A at the end?
Yes, there's going to be
Great,
Q&A.
that's perfect because I think they're
Oh, yeah.
going to have a lot of questions.
I think we're in a unique place in the writing community, and in that it's become much more difficult to get published than it was 50 years ago. And therefore, you don't have the groups around you, and therefore, writing groups are the one place that you can kind of get that feedback, that honest feedback, so that you're sending something off that's had some work already done on it, and they can feel that.
Yeah, there aren't as many editors working for publishers, and so they're looking for something that they don't have to do much work on. And if they think, oh, this is a good idea, but I don't have time to do it, they send it back. So it's very important to have it worked
Polished.
over.
I don't want anyone
Yeah.
in the publishing world to see my first draft ever. That would be the fate worse than death, I think. You guys, yes, but they want polish towards the end. Well, we're getting ready to take a little break in about a minute, so I'm going to go back to Genevieve and I met Genevieve through Gold Rush,
Yes.
and we've kind of become buddy friends.
Yes, we
We have
have.
a dancing date.
Which we haven't gone on yet, but
We haven't
eventually.
gone on yet, but soon, and very soon, we'll see when we come back. Now you don't get to know.
You're watching your local television network, TSPN.
Hi, welcome back. If you missed the earlier part of the show, my name is Kathy Boyd-Fuller, and I'm your host, and I'm going to reintroduce my guests, Antoinette May on my left, Kevin Arnold, and Genevieve Beltran, and we are discussing the Mokelumne Hill Gold Rush Writers Conference, May 2nd through the 4th. And what I'd like Antoinette to do, because I think we all have favorite parts of it, just tell them how you start out on Sunday, with the dinner, which is optional, and Friday.
Yeah.
At Shea.
Shea Herndon.
Yeah.
Shea Herndon at my house. Yeah, we start with a picnic supper, which I think most people enjoy very much. We're very fortunate in having wonderful wine. And then we move on up to the library, and people just do free reading of their work, ideally poetry, but we can do very short fiction, and that's just a kind of a fun evening. And then the workshop really begins at 10 o'clock the next morning when the workshops begin, and they go all day. And then this year we've expanded. We've got 22 workshops going, and so it goes all day Sunday as well. It's an intensive thing. People have an opportunity at every given time to choose between 4 workshops. Ideally, I hope it's something that will help everyone.
I know, I like the, and I love that you extended it, because I know I think you got a lot of requests for that.
Yeah.
People just wanted it to go on a little longer.
Yeah.
And then Saturday night is the open read that's not so much poetry, and it's not critiqued, so a new person doesn't have to feel threatened to get up there.
No, not at all. They don't. They're not going to
Yes.
be critiqued. And Saturday night it goes on, and they aren't critiqued. So you have an opportunity to experience a mic and your voice and talking to people in a non-threatening manner.
And how long is that now? I know the time got shortened last year, I think.
Well,
2 or 3 minute read?
yeah, there has to be, some limit, depending
Oh,
on
yes.
how many people want to do it.
And there's just a sign up, and
Yeah,
as you sign up.
It goes until 11 o'clock. It starts
does,
right after
yeah.
dinner, and we try to get as many people who want to share their work.
Have you, and I was asking you, you've done that.
Yeah, a couple
Did you
of
do it
times.
the first year?
The first year, that might have been when Adair was there. I think I did. I think it was when Adair Lara was there and I read. Yeah.
And what about you? You've been doing all along. Have you been reading?
Yes, I've actually run it a couple of years. And
Yes.
Kevin.
You ran it last year, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. I look forward to it. One reason I go to Squaw Valley is for the reads. I like to listen to the author reads. So that's one of my favorite parts of your conference, because we can wind down, listen to each other, we're
Have a
relaxed.
glass of wine, relax,
Right.
yeah.
And it's after dinner. There's no pressure. It's sharing of
Yeah.
creativity.
No, there's no pressure at all. It really is, truly an open mic and a supportive audience. No one is judging you. It's an opportunity to get your work out there. Yeah, we do that Friday night, and then we do that later on Saturday night after dinner.
And then, Kevin, do you have a favorite part of the conference? I'm sure you like it all of it. But
Well, I've enjoyed that. I've enjoyed the featured readers that we've had every year, and Tony's looks like she's really got some good ones this year, typically, and that's after a nice dinner. One of the things about the conference is it's a bargain. You not only is it inexpensive, but you get 3 or 4 meals out of it.
Oh, yeah, really. We're talking about if they register before April 1st, it's $160. That includes their choice of 22 workshops and a picnic supper, which is really fun with this fantastic wine, and then a Saturday dinner and Sunday brunch. So it's really hard. Obviously, this is a nonprofit thing. It's for writers helping writers.
which is good.
Yeah, and if they don't sign up before April 1st, then they go up $15.
That's still
How
a
bad
bargain.
is that?
Yeah.
$175 is a bargain.
Tony's mentioned the wine twice now, so I'll just say what that's all about. Kathy Isaac Luke's husband is a wine connoisseur and has been a consultant in the wine industry, and he buys the wine on that Friday night. It's very good wine. Sorry, it is.
Yeah.
So that's
That's
Charles.
how that goes. It's
Yeah.
Charles who does
It's
that.
a
Inside
wonder
job.
that people tear themselves away and go on up to the library to read their work.
Stumble up to the library.
Yeah.
He's a really nice guy, too.
Oh, he's a great
lovely
guy.
couple.
Charles is a great guy.
Yeah.
I was going to, I should have mentioned last time about the children's workshop, because last year it was taking a kernel of truth and building your story from even a nonfiction truth and creating fiction from that. This year I've expanded it beyond that for, I mostly knew people last year. A couple with like this Mary Knoll's sister, Mary. She would just have beautiful books, illustrated.
Mary. Yeah, your sister Mary.
Sister Mary.
Oh, yeah.
Who's a friend of my sister Maureen, who's a writer in the Bay Area. And I didn't know they knew each other, but her books, I give them 15-minute appointments. I said, if you can catch me and let me know in advance, because I like them to contact me in advance like you do for sample writing, that I'll give them 15 minutes to go over their own books with them. And when she brought hers, she was ready to go to publishing.
Oh, wow.
And I know she won't be here this year because she fell and she's back east.
Yeah, I'm
Oh,
so
that's too
sorry.
bad.
Be a loss.
She's come every year.
Beautiful writer, and the art was outstanding. And that's another thing I'm touching on, just for you that are interested in illustrated storybooks and some of your for 2 to 4 picture books, is the relationship between the author and the illustrator is very important. And so I'm hoping, because it's on a Sunday, that my illustrator might be able to pop in, the one that illustrated 3 of the 4 children's books, and just give you a few minutes from her point of view, which is it's a very intimate relationship. It is a marriage, folks, so it's very important. And I'm hoping Donna can break away and share from that aspect, which I don't think there's been a conference I've gone to that they do that. And that's another thing I love about your conferences. You try firsts. You give that survey out at the end, and we get to fill in what we thought of it and what we would like to see in the future, maybe.
Yeah, and we certainly try to respond to that. Kevin and I were just talking about that on the way here. I'm very interested in people's response and try to gear the following one as much as possible.
I think that's really important.
They take,
Yeah.
they listen to people.
Yes,
Oh,
listening.
yes, it's an intimate
Important.
conference. It's a small conference, and
It's
wow.
very supportive.
Yeah.
Very, very much.
And some writers are introverts. There's introverts, extroverts, and introverted extroverts. Okay? And one writer told me, well, I don't know if I can go because I'm comfortable in my room with my computer. He has a cat. And I said, sometimes you got
cat's
to
not
hear
gonna
other people and be around your own kind. Because guess what? When you're art, you find out you're
Well,
not
I
the only
wouldn't
strange
trust
one.
my cat. I know that. Either one of them. They don't think much of me.
Well, I will borrow my daughter's dogs, and they sit on either side of me. When I want to read parts out loud, and sometimes the lab will and leave. But the old girl sticks around for most of it. But I was trying to encourage him because, we are isolated, people of isolation, when we're actually writing. And so I'm hoping he signs up.
I hope so, too.
Because,
definitely.
I think we can add some more insight than the cat does.
I think
I was
so,
thinking.
too. I mean, that's why I really,
Just a
truly try to keep it as low as possible so that anyone can come,
It's a very affordable,
very
quality
affordable.
It
conference.
really, really is.
And I think one of the things that people get out, we haven't even talked about yet, and that's the touching the other writers. They meet someone else who's in the next town over. They're in Mountain View, the other one's in Palo Alto, and all of a sudden they're in a writing group together or something. And I think that's very important, is not what they learn just from the instructors and the speakers.
Yeah, it's the networking.
but
They
the
can start
networking.
their own groups. They can have their own conferences. It has to start somewhere.
Yeah, and it's a good place to start. I think it's $175 is so affordable for 3 days of such a wide offering. You offer a wide spectrum. Some conferences are strictly focused in on a certain aspect or just a specific genre. You've just got everything
all.
there. And like I said earlier, you change it up.
Yeah.
You don't do the same thing year after year after
Yeah.
year. You bring in different keynote speakers, and you didn't have children's before.
No.
That's something
No.
else that's new. And it is. I would love to hear from you about the changing publishing world. Is this going so fast?
Me?
Yes.
About the
because-
changing publishing
Well, you know,
world?
you're teaching kids that are going to grow up to be the future writers, illustrators,
Oh,
publishers,
that's true.
editors. Yeah. And your kids love to read.
Oh, they do. Yeah, and they love to write too. They really, really do. But I don't know what's going on with the ebooks because when they get older, I don't know if a lot of kids are reading ebooks.
Do they in your class, or do they prefer to hold a book
In my class, because I'm not a very good techie, it's all physical books.
and on?
Yeah, but I know a lot of what kids, when they get to be high school or junior high, they're reading a lot online. Yeah.
A lot online. I know that's changing a little. But we're going to have to break here in a little bit, so I would like to get a little bit more into the publishing industry end of it for you, because what Antoinette offers really equips you for, so you're not going into it blind. That I would call it an equipping conference. So come back and see us, and we'd be happy to have you. Thanks.
You're watching your local television network, TSPN.
It's like we're talking.
Hi, welcome back. Surprise! We always chit-chat, and you've heard it from me before. You really should be here for the 3-minute breaks, because that's the real show, folks. That's where we tell everything we don't say on the air. But we're going to finish up with a little more talk about the conference. I cannot encourage you enough to go. I came from Sacramento, and then my husband was stationed in at Cal Fire Station Morgan Hill when we came here to the Teaching Academy in Ione. And I grew up in the area and didn't know about Ione. So I knew about Sutter Creek and Jackson. And I was constantly going back and forth to my home groups in Sacramento, and I was looking for something up here. And Antoinette, a neighbor told me, she had heard from a friend. And that's how I heard about her. She'd heard from a friend, and I go every year. It is a lovely conference. It's quality. When I say quality, I'm just saying committed, passionate writers and authors that are there to help you learn and grow, hone your skills, and people from beginning, intermediate, and advanced writers. There's something there for everybody. You're not going to miss anything unless you don't go. Then you're totally missing out on a great experience. And one other thing that's wonderful is her Friday night picnic.
Oh, that's so
It's
much
the
fun.
social icebreaker to me. And I've made friends at that I would not have talked to before, where you form friendships outside of critique groups, writing circles too, because your distance separates you. We all come from different areas, and I think the relaxed atmosphere, and I miss Chloe.
No,
I will miss
yes.
Chloe, Antoinette's
Oh,
dog.
The lovely dog.
I love dogs, so she was a great doggie.
Yes, she was. She really was. And I think she knew she was going, and she went around and said goodbye to everybody, which was very touching.
did.
Now we have a new dog. She's full of very young energy. I don't know if she will attend the picnic or not. We'll see. She's
Maybe
going to
behind the
She's going to boot camp
Oh.
next week.
Oh,
And so,
Joe.
if she passes boot camp, survives boot camp, she may be at the picnic.
She can mingle with the writers. Yes. I talked a bit, about publishing before, and all four of us know how dramatically the publishing world is changing daily. As we sit here and talk to you and each other, it is changing. And the e-book market you brought up, I love to hear, by the way, that little first graders are happy to read print still. I love print. Take the books. I cannot take any reader in the tub, and I have a nice jetted tub that, bubble bath and wine, and I just don't see me on that machine in there personally. But the conference, I think you get a little bit of that from the mingling, from the networking there. I know Tom brings a lot. I've taken his classes. Would never ever been able to do the children's books without taking Tom Johnson classes. And my agent represents my novels in the traditional market. But Antoinette, you can take from both the self-indie and traditional publishing parts of the world. And
The indie is so big now, but we've got that covered, and we have the traditional covered.
Yeah, that's one of the things that's happened during the time that we've had the writing conference was that when we first started out, it was pretty much traditional publishing was what was going on. And then this guy, Tom Johnson, who's a friend of Tony's, shows up. He says, no, it's all about publishing yourself. Forget those guys. And he's really taught it, and he really, really knows that entire world and teaches a couple of classes where you can go from zero to really knowing what you're doing about self-publishing in a very quick period of time. So if you're all interested in that, that's a reason just by itself to come up to McCullough Hall and spend a wonderful weekend.
Yeah, Tom is a past master at it, but also there are Lou and Jennifer are doing a workshop, and they'll take your book. They can only take so many people. It's important to sign up for that really right away. They can only do so many people, but they will make an ebook out of your book.
I'll format it for you.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
Very helpful.
Yeah, we're very fortunate to
You
have
are
them.
really, you cover so. The first time I sat in Tom's class, oh my gosh, it was so embarrassing. He also asked you to send things in advance, and he was asking computer language Kathy doesn't speak. And I sent wrong answers back because I tried to figure it out without asking someone else. So it was a little humbling, but he was so gracious because even though he is the master, he is tolerant and patient. Because his whole
he's
thing
a
is for you to
true
learn.
teacher. He really is a true teacher, and he wants, he's a neat guy. We're very fortunate to have him, and he comes now every year from Santa Fe.
That's
he's-
passion.
Yeah.
He's really passionate to come up.
Makes a big
And
difference.
very knowledgeable. I know a little bit about computers and enough to know how good he is.
Yeah,
Like he knows
he
5 times what I do.
Wow, see, and I'm right there at
Impressive.
1%. But it works,
Yeah,
you know.
but he can go from 1% to 50% or 60%, and he's still 90%. He's still, he's on the cutting edge.
I am no
So-
longer at the level I went to him at because I've taken, I think, 3 years of classes from him.
Oh, wow.
And as long as you go with a notebook or your computer,
And you're ready to go.
You take notes, and I'm good with notes. I can't get it all down then because he's so good at it. He knows it all so well.
Yeah.
If I get it down and go back and review it, I'm fine. And he is patient in that way, and I think that's important. Some teachers teach, but they don't have that degree of patience because not every student's at the same level, basically.
Definitely.
And then for the publishing end of it, I would like to hear how you went from this book to this book.
Well, that was pretty simple. There was a woman up in Oregon, and she was very taken with this book, and she had just started this Applegate Valley Publishers and asked if she could publish this, and so that was very nice for me. So I added in the original book, which it looks like it was done in the backyard there, I added about twice as many poems, and then she put it together in this nice volume.
Did you have anything to do with the cover?
Yes, I got to know a fellow in Oklahoma, actually, and this was a painting that he made specifically
beautiful.
of his wife running away. And so I chose that, and then there was a second painting that he'd done of the same thing, and so I put that on the back, and then this was me as me and my family when we were in the middle of it all.
Yeah, even the back's great. Don't want to miss out on that. And can I ask how much it is?
It's, what does it say on it? $15.
Okay, nice price too.
It is.
And you
Lovely
could get it signed by the author.
Even better.
At the Gold Rush.
And that's another
Might
thing.
even be a slightly smaller price at
Oh,
Conference special.
Conference Special.
Yeah.
that's a nice thing authors do at conferences.
Yes,
too,
they do.
because we all need to eat too, don't we?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I love the cover. I also like covers like this. I don't think that it looks juvenile or anything. I think it's actually kind of classic.
Yeah, but this is so graphic.
It stands out.
Oh, that
Yes.
is. That one speaks to you.
Yeah, it
has
really
a,
does.
a language of its own.
Yeah.
It's not hard to tell she's fleeing something there. And that's another thing. If you look at these other covers, that one there, that is up to me. That was what made me look at the book.
Yeah,
Was her
that's a
cover.
fascinating cover.
And I love Michael David Lucas's cover too.
And I loved his
beautiful.
story about how he came to this. It was quite a journey.
Oh, it was like, what, 12 years?
Yes.
Something like that.
It really is funny because actually, the publisher pretty much decides the cover. With my book, The Sacred Well, the woman who's on this cover isn't in the book.
Okay.
Just to get your attention.
I mean, they're very interesting women in the book, but they aren't this woman. There is no woman in this story who's just lying on the grass, which is full of mosquitoes and bugs, and no one would lie on the grass in Yucatan. It would never happen.
I happened to be at Tony's house when the phone calls were going back and forth on that cover. I remember. Got pretty heated.
Yeah.
That's important to the author because that's our representation.
Well-
Most people look at the cover, they read the back, they'll read the inside flap, and maybe the first page.
But
And that's it.
I've also seen different covers for Your Pilot's Wife, depending on what country.
Oh, yes.
should've
Well,
brought
Pilot's
some.
Wife, my first novel, has been translated in, English, and then 17 other languages.
And
And
sometimes with
they're
different
all
titles.
different covers.
And titles, too.
Yeah, uh-huh.
Yeah.
And they're
love
so
that.
interesting the way different countries have interpreted that cover and that story. And I like some of them so much better than the American version.
Well, I'm going to talk a little, because I'm getting the 2-minute signal here. Before we wind down, can you share your website? Just tell them.
Yes, my website is. I'm sorry. It's in the front of my book here. It's www. I'm embarrassed. I'm sorry.
Oh, well, I don't know mine either.
I thought we were gonna.
Oh, wait, I have it
Kevin,
right
you
here.
have, yeah, you have it. Yeah.
I have it. Here, Kevin. You sent it to me.
Yeah. It's redroom.com/member/Kevin Arnold.
Oh, your Red Room?
Red Room.
Oh, cool.
Redroom.com/member/Kevin Arnold.
And
Red Room goes with the cover of your book.
Yeah, it
too.
does.
Red Room.
And Antoinette, the way they can get in touch with you is at toni@antoinettemay.com.
Yeah, they certainly can get in touch with me that way, but they could also go to Gold Rush Writers, run together, goldrushwriters.com, and get all the information about the conference.
Well, I'm going to pass this copy to Genevieve,
Fill it out afterwards.
and she's filling it out. And then for those of you locally, there are some also down at Clark's Corner in Ione. So we're winding down. Please join us May 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. You will have the experience of a lifetime. Thank you for joining us, Tony. Thank you, Kevin. And thank you, Genevieve, for
You're
being my
welcome.
guest. You were a pleasure.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you, guys. See you next time.
We enjoyed it too. Thank you.
Bye.
You're watching your local television network, TSPN. Java Drive.